Hi, my name is Dr. Elizabeth Cohen. I'm going to be your instructor for this course, which is COMM654, Social Marketing. Probably the best thing to do is start off by telling you what social marketing is, or maybe what it's not. When we were trying to get this course approved, people in the marketing department got all mad and they're like, no, we do a social media marketing class. And I was like, no, I didn't say social media marketing. I said social marketing. So what have you gotten yourself signed up for? Well, social marketing is essentially the application of regular marketing techniques, like the stuff that people used when they want to market a product, when they want to, I don't know, sell lemonade or laundry detergent, but applying the same principles that people use in order to market different types of products to social ideas and behaviors. So this is the type of stuff that people who are interested in public health campaigns would use. They'd use social marketing techniques to launch a campaign that encourages people to get, cancer screenings, to get mammograms or prostate cancer screenings, or maybe, an environmental campaign that wants you to stop using plastic straws, right? They would be interested in using social marketing techniques because they're not trying to sell a product, they're trying to sell some sort of social behavior, right? So that's what we're focusing on. Obviously, there's a lot of overlap between like regular marketing and social marketing. That's the point. But the topics we're going to be dealing with are more in the realm of pro-social behaviors, or behaviors that you want people to do in order to improve their health or the environment or their safety or something like that. I guess more on that later. And to be fair, even though this isn't a class about social media, you can actually, we will talk a little bit about social media because just like every campaign, there's a lot of media involved in it. So anyway, that's besides the point. You can read all about that in your book this week, what social marketing is. Really, this video is just supposed to be an introduction to the class itself to kind of give you an idea of how it's going to go. The first thing you need to know is I post these videos. A lot of these videos, though, are old. This one's new. In fact, I'm making this video on, man, it's only 2 days into the new year and it takes me a second. I'm making this video on a Wednesday and class will start on Monday, right? So this is pretty recent. This is what I look like currently in 2019. But you're going to see these videos that I post each week, lecture videos. Some of them are a little more current because sometimes I'll redo them. Some of them, though, I've had up there since I started teaching this class, which was like, I think 4 or 5 years ago. I've taught it every semester, at least in spring and fall, not summer. For 4 or 5 years now, and look, if the lecture was fine, I didn't change it, so you'll see that I've changed a little. My hair's gotten longer, maybe darker, my face has gotten a little fatter. I'm working on that. Anyway, I'll look a little bit different, but it's always me. It's just me at different time points. But I do post these lectures because it is an online class, and I think that one of the problems with these classes is that when you aren't face-to-face, a lot of stuff can get lost in translation. But other than that, you're not going to see me. Unless, of course, you want to talk. Some of you guys I know are located on campus, and I've had a lot of students in this class that have come by and seen me. I do have regular office hours. You can see it on the syllabus, which you can download this from eCampus, of course. I've got office hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays regularly, but they're really for my undergrads. Not to say they show up, but still. The reason I'm saying this is because the truth is, just like everything in this class, it's flexible, so I don't want to say everything's flexible, but office hours, if you want to talk to me, all you got to do is just email me and set up a time to talk. There might be times this semester that I email you and say, like, look, we got to talk. And the reason for that is on your assignments a lot, I find that, well, sometimes I find that my feedback is not very helpful, to be honest. Sometimes I don't think it's necessarily my feedback's bad. It's just, they're just things that are easier to talk to in person. And so what I can accomplish in a quick 15-minute phone call is much greater than what I could do by spending like hours trying to explain things in writing and not even being able to tell if you understand or not. So a lot of you guys, hopefully we will at least talk on the phone at some point. And then at the end of the semester, I'll get to see your faces, but not until the end. I'll get there in a second. Okay, so this is the book you need. Yours will look much prettier than mine. Mine has been through a lot, but it's still holding strong. I think you can even rent this book in some places. This is an undergraduate level textbook, I will admit that, but I gotta tell you, it's the best in the biz. Lee and Cutler, your authors, are the people who invented this field. I mean, they are the people who know what they're talking about. So you're learning from the best by this. The other reason, to be honest with you, I think it's actually really nice to have a textbook like this for a grad class is because they give you a ton of examples, lots of pictures too, you can see that. And for better or worse, you know, you kind of have to be very self-motivated, very somebody who's willing to sit down and try to teach yourself certain concepts. Again, I'm not trying to say that to scare you. I will leave you lectures. I will try to walk you through as much as I can. But the truth is that because it's an online class and I can't get the direct feedback about whether you're getting things or not and go back and forth, right? A lot of times I'll give you an assignment to do. And if you don't understand something, you're going to need to be able to pick up the book to ask questions, so to speak, because I won't be there, right? Unless you get me early, which I do recommend. When you get assignments in this class, I think the first thing you should do is read the chapter. Make sure you understand it. And if you don't, all you have to do is say, like, Dr. Cohen, can we just set up a time to talk to make sure I understand this? I just need a little notice for that. But back to the book, it is going to be critical that you have this because it's really, outside of my summary lectures, your only tool to, you know, help yourself learn the vocabulary and stuff like that. So the book is required. I guess that's all I needed to say. I already went through contacting me a little bit. I'm not going to go through that. Let's go to the grades, though, basically how this class is going to break down. So first of all, this week I already mentioned you do have a quiz that you need to do. It's on eCampus. You can take it as many times as you want. It's going to just ask you questions about your syllabus, stuff like, when is this due, and what's my policy on X, and really, it's just a way for me to force you to read the syllabus, because it's not really entertaining. So I got to give you some incentive. But you can get 20 points on this really easy. What you have to do is just keep taking it until you get 100% right. So it might take a couple times of you taking it, but hopefully once you get a question wrong the first time, you'll know how to correct it and whatever. So that's pretty easy. Make sure you get that done before the end of the week. You also have a discussion board post due, which I'll mention at the end of this video. In general, each week, you're going to have some sort of assignment that's due. All of the assignments, with the exception of any discussion board posts we have, are going to be due at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday evenings. And then the next week, you know, starts Monday morning or whatever. Like, that's when the content for that week will be available on eCampus. I lost my seltzer. Hold on. Feeling parched. Seriously, where's my seltzer? I always have it. It's okay. Luckily, I'm like one of these people. I always have one of these in my hands these days. Anyway, this will happen a lot. Seltzer blackout. Okay, so the assignments are going to vary a little bit, but most weeks are going to be worksheets. Now, you're actually not going to get a worksheet until I think the third week, but after that, most everything you're going to turn in is a worksheet. So you'll go in to eCampus. There'll be a folder for whatever content there is for that week. It'll tell you what the objectives are and anything you're supposed to do. And normally what you'll see, again, starting in 2 weeks, is a Word document. You download that Word document. It asks you questions. You go to your book. You answer the questions and you upload the worksheet again to eCampus in the same place basically that you got it. Occasionally we won't do worksheets and there will be a quiz like there is this week, or a discussion board post. Discussion board posts, I found that the students like those because it kind of gives you a break from the worksheets. We do not, this isn't one of those classes where you have discussions every week, so it's not so bad, because believe me, I mean, there's ups and downs to discussions, you know. I think the up is that occasionally you guys need to talk to each other and kind of help each other brainstorm. So about twice during the semester, instead of having a worksheet, you'll need to go in the discussion board place and, you know, put whatever I tell you to put there. The only difference in terms of a weekly assignment, as far as, you know, the only difference between you doing a discussion board post and a worksheet is the due date. I do want you to post by Friday morning. And that's just to make sure that other people have time to respond throughout the weekend before, you know, we move on and that assignment's done. So most of your assignments are going to be due at Sunday, 11:59 p.m. Occasionally, though, they're going to be due at Thursday night at 11:59 p.m. But of course, I'll let you know about that. So each week you're going to have these assignments, which means that throughout the semester there's going to be 12 of them. and each of the assignments is worth 10 points each, okay? So that adds up to 120 points of your grade. But then the big project for this class is a social marketing proposal. So essentially, you know, I mentioned this is all about like, well, how do we make these marketing campaigns? Your goal in this semester is to develop your own social marketing campaign. Pretend like you're pitching it to a funding agency in order to get funding to do this, to launch this campaign to, you know, reduce the rate of heart disease or get more puppies adopted or whatever you're going to end up doing, right? Here's the neat thing though, if you play your cards right, the final proposal hopefully won't be too much work for you, because the way I've structured this class is when you have those assignments each week, each assignment should hopefully be a little component of your final proposal, which means that once you do a couple of worksheets, if you wanted, you could start writing your final proposal and put them in, kind of like a step-by-step process. There are some people who have told me that it really only took them about 3 hours to put together their final proposal, because all they had to do was just go and kind of get the stuff that they've been doing all semester long and put it together. Now, of course, that, you know, and that only works out if you're happy with the work you've done and if you don't have a lot of feedback that you have to integrate and stuff like that, but whatever. The whole point is everything in this class is supposed to be cumulative, and ideally, at the end of the semester, you shouldn't have too much work to do if you've been keeping up all semester long. But that's a trick in itself, so whatever. And then finally, you have a social marketing proposal, and then the last week of class, I want you to do a video just like this. I see your face, finally. It's kind of weird, because like, for some of you that I don't get to see at all, I see you at the very end, and I'm always like, that's never what I thought they would look like. But anyway, you'll come on and you'll just give a quick, I call them a pitch, but it's really more of kind of like a show and tell, where you get to share with your classmates what you did for your campaign and run over some highlights of that. It's supposed to be a pretty short, informal video, though. I like it to be a nice way to relax after the worst is over. So that's it. Those are all of the different components that make up your final grade. You can read all about them in detail on the syllabus, but also if you want to already start looking at like, oh, what does this crazy, you know, proposal look like? I have that stuff all posted on eCampus too, so if you want to get working on something earlier, you can. The only thing you can't do is access worksheets earlier, and there's a good reason for that. People, I know I bet there's like 2 or 3 of you in this class. They always want to get ahead of the game, which is fine for some classes, but in this class, because everything is step by step, if you don't do step number 1 right and you jump to step 2, then everything kind of falls apart. So I really don't let people complete assignments before, you know, the last step is completed. So there's a lot of flexibility in the class to work ahead, but not entirely. So just keep that in mind. Okay. The course policy stuff on the worksheet is pretty self-explanatory. If you need tech support for eCampus, there's a number for you. Yada, yada, yada. Assignment deadlines we already talked about. I do not accept late assignments. The only exception is a final project, but you got to turn in those worksheets at 11:59 p.m. I do grade these things. I try to. I mean, listen, my schedule varies a lot depending on meetings we have going on, and like this semester we're going to have job candidates coming in, and that affects my schedule can be in flux, but as much as I can, I try to grade these things on Monday morning, because that's when I have time. And I also want to get those things back to you early so that you can take the feedback and move on and do other things. So if, you know, stuff doesn't come in at the deadline, you've had all week to do it, you don't get any points for it. But, you know, the truth is you do have 12 different assignments, so if you miss like one assignment, it's not the end of the world. I just wouldn't recommend it because, again, you need to do that stuff because it'll help you with your final proposal. On that note, you know, a lot of students I found last semester have been asking me for things like, oh, you know, I didn't do as well as I wanted on the worksheet, will you regrade it? And sometimes people would like want me to read things ahead of time. The truth is there's a part of me that I wish I could, but I can't. If I do it for one person, then I have to offer to do it for everyone, and I just don't have the bandwidth. Having said that, and you are going to hear me say this over and over again in different contexts throughout the semester, as I mentioned before, well, sitting down and reading things and doing written feedback is just, it's very taxing. having a quick conversation, which is something that if we were in a in-person class we would be able to do, is much easier for me. So if you're struggling with something, instead of asking me to, again, set aside time to like go through things or regrade things or look at things ahead of time, instead, let's just have a quick conversation. Sometimes if you email me just a really quick question too, if it's just like a one question and not like a whole laundry list of them, I'm happy to respond by email, and I can do that pretty quickly on my iPhone or anything like that. So I'm really, really happy to make myself available for you. But I don't grade things early or anything like that. Academic dishonesty, don't do it. Drop policy, don't sell the course material. Social justice is great. There's a bunch of that stuff there. The only other thing I'll mention, and this is like a pet peeve, speaking of all the time that it takes to grade things, one of the, not for everyone, really not for everyone, but one of the things I found in teaching this class, like that has been kind of an ongoing struggle for some students, is the integration of feedback that I leave. So what will happen is on Mondays, right, if you have a worksheet, hopefully someday on Monday, I'll give you those worksheets back, and I'll have written things on them. And when I write things on them, I expect you to do something with it. Like, I'm not writing, for my health. And the reason I said it's a pet peeve is because it's not just like, oh, like, why isn't that person like listening to me? I feel so sad. What's frustrating is that if you don't take the feedback from one week and then you try to do the other worksheet, I have to say the same things over and over again, and it gets super frustrating. So I'm super strict where I actually will take points off. Like, I guess what I should say is, part of your grade in this class will be based on how well you're learning, how well you're taking, the things you did one week and improving them the next week. Because like I said, everything's layered, it's step by step. So I'm going to be actively looking for, okay, are you able to take the things that you did incorrectly, kind of fix them, and do you seem to be understanding how to like do things better? And of course it's really important too, because remember, your final project is where you resubmit everything, and hopefully by then it's all fixed up and everything. So I just can't emphasize this enough. Please, 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 if you do one thing in this class, make sure you read that feedback very carefully, because a lot of times I'll even like just give you the answer, and I'll just say, you know what, this was really close, but just write this instead next week. Just do it. I'm like trying to just do it. So pet peeve, people who don't read my feedback. Do it. I have some pro tips for this course. I mean, it's a bunch of like how to survive. And I mean, a lot of you guys are probably already pretty used to these online classes now and everything like that. So I won't go too much into it. I do, I have like one of the things on here I mentioned, which it hadn't really occurred to me before, is people do make C's and D's in this class, but it's never because they don't understand the material. The people who don't make, the passing grades in this class are usually because they drop the ball, like they forget about it, or they fall off the map, or there were too many assignments that they just didn't do. And on some level, I really understand it, because I'm just like, look, this isn't a class where we have like a meeting time, and we all have these really busy lives. And a lot of people can't even like get to things until, Saturday or Sunday. And God forbid if something happens in that time, like it's hard to do. I actually really do understand it. Having said that, everybody in this class is in that same boat, meaning like most of you are non-traditional students who, are already like out, like working these amazing jobs and have family obligations and everything like that. So I have to hold everybody to the same standards. And once again, if a couple balls in the air drop, it's really not a big deal. It becomes a problem when it's habitual. And habit's a really good word, I think, because that's what I always recommend for people, is like, try to, as best as possible, get into a routine with this course. Make it habitual, so that every Wednesday is when you read that chapter, and every Thursday is when you start working on that worksheet to, give yourself some time if you need my help or something like that. Whatever, schedule works best for you, I don't know, but I have found that, again, the people who usually don't do as well in this class as they want to, it's usually not because they don't get the material. It's usually because they've had issues just keeping up, right? So keep up. And let me know, if you're having issues or something, because otherwise I can't always promise that I can help or do anything about it. But if I don't know, then there's nothing I can do. Okay, so That's just about it. On the last page of your syllabus, you have a nice schedule for all the things we're going to cover. If you look at it now, the topics might not make a lot of sense to you, but hopefully they will after next week when we go through the steps of social marketing. So what do you need to do now? Well, take that syllabus quiz. I would do that first. And then I'd really appreciate, you guys are probably sick of introducing yourselves to each other. I get that, but I don't know you. Please introduce yourself on the discussion board. Tell me if you can, well, actually, even if you can't, do it anyway. In addition to introducing yourself to me and your classmates and letting me know a little bit about like who you are, I would also like you to think about some sort of topic that would be appropriate for social marketing. That you could focus on for your campaign. It's got to be a topic you don't mind thinking about all semester, because once we get that topic, you will think about it all semester. We are not going to settle on it, so you don't have to commit to it this week. In fact, if you have a couple of different topics you're wrestling with, mention them both. And if there's one that's clearly better than the other, I'll tell you. If neither one is better, then it doesn't matter. But remember, social marketing needs to be something that appeals to like a big group of people. It needs to be some sort of health, safety, or environmental issue. It should not be like, I always have people who want to do like, I want to convince the NFL to stop that. I don't know. And it was like, no, we're not this isn't about campaigning an organization. We're not talking about political campaigns where you want to persuade people to vote for a candidate. You're not trying to sell a candidate. You're not trying to sell a product where you're like, I want people to buy Colgate toothpaste. It's not that. What you need to think about is some sort of cause that you care about, right? Something like organ donation, or reducing high school dropouts, or fixing the opioid addiction problem, or, some sort of big scale thing that could be fixed if you got a large group of people to change their attitudes and behaviors in some sort of way. There's so many different examples that I could think of. Your book gives you a ton, so if you're struggling with this, but my best, suggestion would be to think about stuff that you actually care about and wouldn't mind reading about more, and maybe wouldn't mind actually persuading people to care about too. So please put that in the discussion board. And I will see you there. I usually wait until, some things are already going on the discussion board to comment myself, but I'll be watching. And I'm looking forward to meeting you. So welcome and thanks. Bye.